and welcome to episode number 1 of the Blue Sky Lounge. I'm your host, Tyler Iantkow. When Disney Imagineers come up with new ideas for attractions, resorts, lands in parks, or even parks themselves, they do what's called blue sky thinking. This podcast is for Disney fans who want to become armchair Imagineers, who want to do that blue sky thinking and come up with new ideas that they would like to see in the parks, or they would like to see in resorts, or even new resorts or new parks. Maybe it's an update to an attraction, maybe it's an update to a restaurant, maybe it's an update to a bathroom. That's what we're here to find out. See what you guys want to bring out into Disney. Every week, the show will be in 2 parts based on the theme. We'll start with a guest who will discuss their ideas, and then the second part will feature your feedback, your ideas, what you want to see in the parks. In order for us to hear what you want to think, we need to hear from you. So please, email us at theblueskylounge@gmail.com. Alright, so without further ado, let's start with this week's episode, featuring special guest, me, Tyler Iantkow. Now, to demonstrate how this show is going to work, our theme is going to be Main Street. Now, I am your host, but not your ghost host, Tyler Iantkow. And I have been a Disney fan for years, since I was a kid. There was a time when I was a teenager that I wasn't as big into Disney, and I call that the dark side. But don't worry, I've come over to the Force. Now, I am a proud repeat Disney cast member. I have worked in all 3 stores here in Calgary, Canada. I have also worked in Disney World twice. For my first program, I worked at Kilimanjaro Safaris as a safari guide on the U.S. college program. And my second program, I was a cultural representative working in Epcot in the Canada Pavilion. Now, it was on the second program that I met my wife. She was on a cultural rep program working in the UK Pavilion, and we actually met on a backstage tour of Expedition Everest. Now, you can kind of see that there's a little trend that Disney runs in our veins, so we did end up getting married in Disneyland, and we actually have 2 children, both of whom are named after Disney characters. Now, for this week's theme, I have chosen the theme of Main Street, U.S.A, and I chose it because it feels like the quintessential hometown, someplace that you feel like you could go and you could settle down with your family. My family and I love Main Street, U.S.A. We love walking through the tunnel underneath the train station and being immersed by the sounds, the smells, the sights, the bustling that can be going on, or the dead of evening when the parks are about to close, or even when the park just opens, and just seeing how it can go from this small quiet town where nobody's there, all of a sudden to having hundreds of people all around you trying to get to their quickest attraction, or even just take a gander down Main Street and see all of the windows. One of the things that I would like to see different about Main Street, either in Disneyland or in Disney World, is to have a set of hallways going down the backside of the Main Street shops. Whether, for instance, in Disney World, if it's going from the Emporium all the way down to Casey's Corner, or the confectionery all the way down to the ice cream parlor, or in Disneyland, the same thing. Now, the reason why is because they actually have these in Disneyland Paris. In Disneyland Paris, they're called the Discovery Arcade and the Liberty Arcade. Now, the Discovery Arcade is based on the drawings of Leonardo da Vinci and the writings of Jules Verne. It actually has da Vinci's Vitruvian Man sculpted into the girders. The Vitruvian Man is Leonardo da Vinci's thought of what the perfect proportions of man should be, and those are put into the girders there. There's other artifacts all around the arcade based on the writings of Jules Verne and other writers and musicians and poets based around the 19th century. Now, on the left-hand side of Main Street is the Liberty Arcade. Now, that arcade is based on the relationship between the United States and France, and how France created the Statue of Liberty and gave it to the United States as a gift. And just like how in the Discovery Arcade there's the Vitruvian Man in the Girders, in the Liberty Arcade, there's actually the Liberty head, the head of the Statue of Liberty, sculpted into the girders as well. Now, the reason why I would like to have these in Main Street and in Main Street in Disneyland and Main Street in Disney World is because you could easily miss the hustle and bustle of a parade. Even if COVID is still happening, people can still line up for the parade. So you could walk down the arcades during the parade, miss all of the people standing there, won't have to worry about 6 feet social distancing or anything like that. Or even if it's not COVID time and people are packed in shoulder to shoulder, you can still miss everybody walking down the arcades and missing the parade and still getting to that first attraction that you want to go to. The other thing that you could do is you could, if it's at the end of the day, you could walk straight through the arcades, skip all the shopping, skip all the people trying to get from store to store. If you just want to get back to your hotel room, go through the arcade, go out through the entrance, or the exit, I guess, and you will be outside the park, no problem. Now that you've heard what I would like to do on Main Street, what would you like to do on Main Street? Email us, let us know, follow us on Facebook. I will get to all of our socials and I will go over our email again at the end of the podcast, but please let us know what you would like to see on Main Street. We would love to hear your ideas. This in turn leads us to the second part of our podcast, where we hear from you, our listeners, our viewers. Now, though this is my first episode of the Blue Sky Lounge, our Facebook has been active for a little bit now, as well as our Twitter. And we have heard from some of our new fans that have given us their ideas. One of them is Matt Chan from Calgary, Canada, and he wrote that he would like to add something that draws inspiration from another Disney attraction. Matt would like to add a drugstore soda fountain inspired by the Carousel of Progress, where John says, "I think I'll take one of those newfangled trolleys down to the drugstore soda fountain and meet the boys for a cold sarsaparilla." Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We're calling it root beer now. Same old thing, just a different name. Matt, I think that's a great idea. I love the idea of that, having that old-fashioned soda fountain. You could almost connect it to Casey's Corner or combine it with Casey's Corner and have that kind of old-time soda fountain where people could meet and hang out and get drinks while they're in the park, have a nice little kind of sit down and relax area. I love that idea. And Andrea Haribo from Whitworth, England says, "I think it's perfect and doesn't need any modernizing at all. Main Street is perfect for me." That's a valid point too, Andrea. Sometimes things are just fine the way they are. You don't need to change what's good, right? Now, that was an awesome walk down the middle of Main Street, USA, and that's a wrap for this week's show. Join us next week and listen to our friend Chloe Hanley as she talks about how she aspires to become a Disney Imagineer when she grows up. Make sure you also share your Blue Sky ideas about what you would create if you were an Imagineer by emailing me at theblueskylounge@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest if you search The Blue Sky Lounge. And make sure you get your thinking caps on for our show in 2 weeks when we talk about Toontown. Now, please note that this Disney podcast is not affiliated with Disney in any way. This is a strictly fan-run show featuring fan ideas and art that is in no way a true representation of what Disney has planned or what Disney will do in the future. Now, thank you so much for taking your time to watch or listen to us and this week, and please make sure to join me here next week on the Blue Sky Lounge. And just remember, think, dream, believe, and dare yourself to use your imagination. Who knows what kind of blue sky thinking you can do from your armchair?